Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. Now I know you're all online. Let's face it, you're listening to a podcast. The chances of you listening to a podcast and you not having internet access are quite small. So you'll already know that the actor Nicholas Courtney sadly passed away last week. Now, just like when Doctor Who's on TV, every single podcast out there is going to be doing a little tribute show to them. And rightly so. The Brigadier was a companion like Sarah Jane Smith that spanned so much. But more importantly than that, Nicholas Courtney was a fantastic convention guest. He truly embraced Doctor Who fandom in a way that encouraged many others to do so. Many of you also will have missed Radio 4's tribute to Nicholas Courtney, which I'll include at the end of this programme. Rather than troll through Wikipedia and a host of other places and come together with something that sums up Nicholas Courtney, I'd like to read The Guardian newspaper's obituary by Dan Martin. This is from Wednesday the 23rd of February 2011. Nicholas Courtney, Doctor Who's legendary Brigadier, mourned by fans. The TARDIS will feel a tiny bit emptier with the passing of Nicholas Courtney, who played the unflappable Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart for more than 2 decades. News today of the death of the actor Nicholas Courtney has struck genuine sadness through the geek community and the world at large. A fine actor and seemingly genuinely lovely man, he was the longest-serving actor in Doctor Who history. His character, the unflappable Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart, was one of the most beloved characters in the entire Whoniverse. He made the first appearance in 1969 adventure The Web of Fear, where Mia Colonel, head of the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, the international community's line of defence against alien threats, when the series was set earthbound in 1970, the Doctor was employed by UNIT and the Brigadier became central to the series' Scooby Gang. The Brigadier occupies a unique position in Who lore. It is the Doctor's defining quality to abhor violence, refusing to use weapons even when absolutely necessary. Lethbridge-Stewart was a military stalwart. His instinct to shoot the alien threats with the catchphrase of 5 rounds rapid, the two men's differing approaches tested as much as complemented each other. Famously, in the Third Doctor's Silurian story, the Brigadier orders the destruction of the underground Homo Reptilia settlement, to the Doctor's disgust, but he also served as a human and humane counterpoint to the Time Lord's alien eccentricities, and the pair developed a professional respect and personal affection. While circumstances dictated that the Doctor's female companions would come and go on a biannual basis, their bromance was a rare constant in the Renegade's life, and when our hero returned to travelling through time and space, the Brigadier appeared alongside every subsequent Doctor from the classic series, barring the 6th, unless we're counting the audio plays as canon, in which case we'll be here all day. When UNIT turned up in the 10th Doctor story The Poisoned Sky, the organisation had toughened up and skewed its moral compass. Sir Alistair, as he was now known, was stranded in Peru during the crisis. The Doctor openly pined for the Brigadier's more honourable way of doing things. His final appearance on the main show came in 1989's Arthurian legend Riff, Battlefield, where the now retired Lethbridge-Stewart battled a Jean March-portrayed version of Morgan Le Fay alongside the 7th Doctor. The plan had been to kill the character off, but with all hell breaking loose, his death could only have been an incidental plot point, and producer John Nathan Turner told Courtney, "If you're going to die, I want your death to mean something." This was how significant he had become, and he was allowed to live happily ever after in his country pile. A year later, the series was axed. Sylvester McCoy, who played the 7th Doctor, said Courtney was very proud of the fact that he was the only Doctor Who regular to appear along almost every incarnation of the Doctor. I remember when they first told me that they were going to bring him into one of my stories. I was delighted. I was a big fan of his, going back to the Troughton era, McCoy told The Guardian. In fact, I was over the moon, which, as the Doctor, was a very easy thing for me to do. What I liked about him was that he had such humour in his performance. He was playing military intelligence, which is a contradiction in terms, but instead of laughing at the character, he came to respect him, and that was because the man himself was great company, gentle, caring, a lovely man. He will be much missed. Nicholas was a gentleman in the true meaning of that word. Lethbridge-Stewart returned to the screen one last time in 2008 for a guest appearance in the spin-off Sarah Jane Adventures. Now retired general turned schoolteacher, he was called in to help his old friend. The warmth between the two former colleagues, their lives forever fused together by experiences with the man in the blue box, was genuinely touching. It was much the same in real life. Courtney knew he was part of something special. He never stopped enthusiastically cheerleading for Who, attending conventions and taking part in numerous Big Finish audio plays. He was rightly proud to be defined by his defining role. The time-space continuum feels a little smaller without him. And now, the Radio 4 segment taken from the show The Last Word.
And Nicholas Courtney, best known as Doctor Who's friend, the Brigadier.
He took on Daleks, Cybermen, Autons, Zygons, and all manner of space thuggery. And it doesn't get more hostile than that.
More on the Brigadier, played by Nicholas Courtney, later. For young television viewers in the early 70s, hiding behind the sofa as Doctor Who battled alien menace, there was one character who could calm the nerves, the Brigadier. The mustachioed military man in the green jersey, Brigadier Alistair Lethbridge-Stewart was the Doctor's earthly ally for more than 20 years, and in all that time he was played by actor Nicholas Courtney, who has died aged 81. For Last Word, historian and Doctor Who fan Dominic Sandbrook salutes the Brig.
With his upright bearing and trim moustache, Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart was the show's longest-serving human character, and a fixture in the imaginative lives of millions of British children in the 1970s and 1980s. Yet only now that he has gone for good to another time zone do we realise just how much we will miss him. Courtney himself could hardly have been a more appropriate candidate to play a man who was the very model of the old imperial virtues. Born in Cairo, the son of a diplomat, he went to school in Egypt, France and Kenya. On and off screen, he seemed the quintessential old-fashioned English gentleman, the personification of decency, fair play and the stiff upper lip. Courtney first appeared in Doctor Who in 1965, playing a space security agent. But it was in the story The Web of Fear, 3 years later, that he first played the square-jawed Lethbridge-Stewart, then a mere British Army colonel, helping Patrick Troughton fight off an invasion of marauding Yeti in the London Underground. A year later, he was back to face the Cybermen, although by now he'd been promoted to Brigadier and seconded to UNIT, the United Nations Intelligence Task Force. And when John Pertwee inherited the TARDIS in 1970, the Brigadier became a permanent fixture, the Doctor's long-suffering boss on Earth. To generations of viewers, the Brigadier's appeal was that in an age of change, from hippies and skinheads to feminists and yuppies, he stayed exactly the same. At a time when governments were cracking under the pressure of inflation, the headlines were full of police corruption, and the British Army was fighting a savage war on the streets of Northern Ireland, he was a defiantly backward-looking hero, a throwback to the days of General Gordon, Richard Hannay and Douglas Bader. Brave, reserved, utterly unflappable, and always perfectly turned out, he was the military man of our national dreams, even if he did work for the United Nations. Nothing threw him. When the Master's machinations brought an ancient stone gargoyle to murderous life, he reacted with admirable coolness.
Jenkins? Yeah. Chap with the wings there. 5 rounds rapid.
And while the Doctor and his companions disappeared into the far future or the distant past, gallivanting around everywhere from ancient Atlantis to the planet Metabilis III, the Brigadier's heart remained firmly British. When he found his headquarters transported through time and space, there was something reassuringly practical, even homely, about his reaction.
Oh, nonsense, Benton, I tell you, that's a beach out there. It's probably in Norfolk or somewhere like that.
Oh, please, if you'd only listen to me.
Right, now, I'll tell you what we'll do. You two stay here. See that nobody wanders in. We can't have the place overrun with holidaymakers. I'll nip out, find a phone, and tell the authorities exactly where we are. I'm fairly sure that's Chroma.
He was not, of course, in Chroma at all. He was in another universe, made of antimatter. But the Brigadier was an officer and a gentleman. He was never going to let a small thing like that upset him. All in all, Courtney gave steadfast service to 6 doctors, making his last appearance 3 years ago in the spin-off series The Sarah Jane Adventures. And when fans asked him the ultimate question, which doctor did he think was the best, he answered with the unflappable charm of his alter ego. Splendid fellows, all of them. Now the TARDIS has taken the Brigadier to another, and I hope better, universe. And no doubt he thinks that's Chroma too.
Dominic Sandbrook on The Brigadier, Nicholas Courtney.
I'll return very shortly with normal business and normal reviews. So until then, be seeing you. And rest in peace, Nick. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.
My name's Philip Clark, feature writer for the Evening Echo. In my job, every day's different. Today, I'm going to meet a man many people have never even heard of, who commanded an organisation that operates within the borders of the utmost secrecy, and to whom the world owes its existence many times over. He's part of a rare breed. He's a hero. His name? Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart. Well, here we are, Brigadier. Back on your old stomping ground of Brendan School. Is this your first time back?
Yes, it is. Happy memories.
You joined the school as a maths teacher after retiring from unit. How did that come about?
Well, as much as I tried to argue with Geneva, I had realized finally that Tempest had futured, so to speak. Lieutenant Sullivan had gone undercover at Porton Down. Benton decided to become a car salesman. Now that's a surprise. While Yates had gone to the South Coast to try and change the world by entering politics. The old team was gone. I kept hoping the doctor might show up again, but he seemed to have forgotten about us as well. Time for the old order to make way for the new. So I retired.
Tell me about the doctor.
Well, unless you've signed the Official Secrets Act, which I very much doubt that you have, I cannot talk about the doctor.
Tell me what happened after you left unit.
Well, much to my embarrassment, I was awarded the CBE. Unit, of course, was very hush-hush, and so the citation merely referred to unspecified services to the Crown. It was a great day for me and my family. Kate and Gordon came to the palace, and we had a wonderful day. I was then, of course, divorced from my first wife.
So how did the teaching come about?
Well, an old chum of mine from the army, from the regular army, had retired a few years before I did and taken up a post here teaching English. He also had something to do with the cadet initiative at the school. Well, he asked me to lend a hand. One thing led to another. Before I knew it, I ended up in the maths department.
So did you ever think you'd become a maths teacher?
Well, as I think I once remarked to someone else some time ago, I know how many beans make 5.
I gather from some of your ex-colleagues that you had a spot of trouble in the late 70s.
Yes, 1977 to be precise. I was found over there by the obelisk. I'd apparently taken a bit of a tumble. Things had got a bit down, I found, and I had I wouldn't call it exactly a breakdown, but certain memories simply just eluded me. Mind you, it didn't stop me working. It takes more than that to stop a Lethbridge-Stewart.
So, how did you come to recapture your lost memories?
Well, it's funny you should ask me that. It was in the summer turn of 1983. That wretched boy Turlough had taken my car and crashed it. And then, suddenly, completely out of thin air, the doctor appeared. He was a very special sort of chap, and he managed to help clear the air. That I will say for him.
So, bring us up to date, Brigadier. How long did you stay at Brendan?
1977 to 1984. I make that 7 years. And then, after the doctor business, Turlough suddenly, for some reason, completely disappeared. Do you know that 3 years before he came to this school, he arrived with a letter from his solicitor in Chancery Lane. All his fees for each year were paid at the first day of every term, and there was a separate account for any expenses he might have as well. Never cared for him. Untrustworthy chap.
Right. Can we just go back to your maths career? How did it end?
Oh, I resigned. I'd been to Brighton for a spot of leaves to see if I could catch up with Yeats. And then quite suddenly I ran into a very special lady called Doris. We'd been an item in my 20s. She gave me this rather nice gold watch, which was engraved. Well, I was then posted overseas, and I had the feeling all the time that her father rather encouraged her not to keep in touch with me. I don't think he thought I was good enough for her. Well, apparently he kept all my letters, my telegraphs, all the ones I sent to her, he didn't receive, so you can imagine how she must have felt. Well, anyway, by pure chance, we met at a concert at the Royal Pavilion. Within 6 months, we were married. She persuaded me to leave the school and come to the country. So now we have this wonderful home. Liberty Hall, I call it. And we do all the things that normal people do, like, well, garden centre the weekends, have the grandchildren over.
So, no more involvement with the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, then?
Oh, well, no, there was this one incident of the Fugu where I was on unofficial surveillance. And then there was an incident at Carberry. And the last time that I was on unofficial was, I think, in 2000, when, well, the man whose name must never be mentioned suddenly popped up when I was in Malaboglia in the United States. So, now I've hung up my uniform for good. Unless I hear that a blue police box has been found somewhere. And then, don't you worry, I'll be ready.
As I look back over the years, it strikes me that I've been rather a lucky person. Although, like most people, I've had some adversity, it hasn't been on a grand scale. And anyway, I take the view that, if handled sensibly, some adversity is character-forming and therefore good for the soul. I remain an idealist and a great believer in love.